All right, so collector car auctions, yes, they have become a huge part in the buying and selling of collector vehicles. There are other options. Back in the old days, what did we do? We put an ad in the local newspaper. That's how I bought my 64 GTO back in '76. I answered an ad. They were asking $1,500 for it. I went and looked at it, drove it, offered them $1,350, said sold, and I bought it, and that's still in my garage today. But that's not the way we do it anymore. I don't even know if local newspapers, if they even have classified sections anymore. I don't know if they do or not. But certainly there are online auctions, there are other live auctions, there are publications, classified publications that will advertise the vehicles. But here's why I think that the collector car world is, that the collector car world is so well served by auctions is because it's easy and it's convenient for both buyers and sellers. And it's proven to be successful for both buyers and sellers. Now there's a fee structure, we'll talk about that in just a few moments. There's a fee structure involved, but when you look at the overall big picture and the bottom line and how much time and effort it takes, especially in this day and age, that we're not dealing with local markets anymore, we're dealing with national markets with the advent of the internet and the ability to find cars scattered all over the country. To have a one-stop, easy place to consign or buy a vehicle is convenient. And beyond that, it's fun. And beyond that, it's a bit addicting. Many of our customers have been doing business with us for a long time, and those of you that are regular viewers of the show will recognize a lot of the same faces, both buying and selling. And they do it because, yeah, maybe they want to change up their inventory, they want to maybe try an SS396 for a couple of years, and then they want to try a 446-pack CUDA the next 3 years. There's a little bit of that going on, but it's primarily because they like being a part of something that's larger than all of us put together. The buying and the selling and the collecting, the thrill of the hunt, the payoff of the victory, and then kind of changing it and doing it all over again. It becomes to be part of a routine and a cycle that's a part of many of our customers' social lives. They look forward to it. We have got some customers, not unlike the old, the Deadheads that would travel around the country, the Grateful Dead fans would travel around and go to as many shows as possible. We've got the same dynamic going on. And some of those people don't even buy or sell at every auction, but they're there, they sit in the front row or the third row, and they hang with their friends, and they get under the spell, as I like to say. It would be really easy for us, for an auction company, or let's just say as a company to sell vehicles, to take all the inventory that comes into a Mecum auction, line all the vehicles up in a building, put a for sale sign on them, have a couple sales representatives standing around them, and people come in, buy and sell cars without all of this magic of these big lavish stages and the auction crews and the bidder's assistants and all of that stuff. But the reality is the auction environment, the auctioneer's chant, the color, the fact that the cars are on a rapid pace across the auction block. We schedule 35 cars per hour. That is a very rapid pace, as we know. But we have so many cars, we have to schedule that rapid pace, or we're there till midnight every night, and that doesn't work. So what we've learned over time is you get the sound, the sensations, the pace, the necessity to make an instant decision, or you're going to lose the car that you might have an interest in. All of those play into it, but the bottom line, it taps into our competitive nature, our competitive spirit. We want to win, we want to get it. And sometimes that forces us to go outside the box of sanity, and I'll give you a really good example. And I want to briefly describe a car. It's not a Pontiac, but it's a cousin, it's a family member. Let's go to Kissimmee of this year, 2022. We had a black 1965 Buick Riviera GS roll up onto the auction block. It was a stunning car, triple black, factory air, restored car. Reserve came off at $50,000. I thought, okay, that's pretty good money. It should be roughly comparable to a '64 Grand Prix, roughly. Well, I'll get to the bottom line. The hammer drop, it hammered and sold for $150,000. Two bidders, we captured on TV. Who remembers that car on that segment on the show? Is that 1, 2, 3 of you guys, gals? Could not pick a better example for what happens when you get the classic two bidders that want one very special car. Book values, sanity, comparables, all goes out the window. Probably for each of those two guys, it was a lifelong dream or goal or target to have a black 65 Riviera GS, and I get it. I mean, who doesn't love and respect those cars? And that's really the top of the heap. But that's a good story that's relevant for this time period because it just happened a few months ago of just how the auction environment can fuel desire. And if you've got the means, I'm guessing that the guy that paid $150,000 for it certainly can afford it. Not all of us could. Maybe many of us could afford $50,000, but not $150,000. But bottom line is it didn't matter. And that's really what I think drives this whole auction experience is both for buyers and sellers. It's easy, it's convenient, it brings everybody to get together, and when that hammer drops, this is a legal standpoint, when that hammer drops and cracks to a buyer, at that exact moment of that hammer crack, that is when the ownership legally transfers from the former owner to the new buyer. It's not paid for yet, we get that, but the way the auction laws and rules are set up, and by the way, the states, all the way back to the 1800s, when they were doing tobacco auctions and cattle auctions. It had nothing to do with cars at that standpoint. But it's funny how that tradition, those laws over the years have carried forward. And then we turn around and we do it again in another 90 seconds. As Frank Mecum said on a video, we're doing it, we're averaging about every 90 seconds. A new car rolls up onto the block. And needless to say, for a guy like me, a lifelong car guy, it's not a hobby, it's a lifestyle. I eat, live, and breathe it. 24/7, 365, all I think about is cars, all I read about is cars, and guitars and motorcycles, and it ends there. And there's a lot of people that feel the same way that I do, and I kind of feel like I'm sort of at the leading edge of representing folks like you in the car hobby to share, as I said earlier, a little bit of knowledge but a lot of enthusiasm. So I feel like I'm doing my part to keep that message moving forward, but more importantly, I feel like I'm one of you guys and gals. I'm representing you, who you are, what your thoughts are. Final word before I get into the nuts and bolts, I will just tell you from the bottom of my heart that I feel like I want to be as accurate as possible and I want to be as relevant as possible at all times. I've been doing it now for 15 years on television. Last week I spoke at the Buick National Convention and the Cadillac National Convention. In 2 weeks I'll be doing it at Pokey. Next week I'll be on TV at our Orlando auction. We'll have 12 hours of live TV coverage on Motor Trend TV and Motor Trend Plus coming up from that new auction, only its second year in us being in Orlando in the middle of the summer. But don't worry about the heat. We are in the Orange County Convention Center, downtown Orlando, where it's very, very comfortable, I've been told. And this will be the first year we've ever televised that. I'm looking forward to that as well. But know that I am out there whenever I'm talking to groups, speaking to people like yourselves. I'm on television talking about the cars and everything that's happening, that I'm doing it from the standpoint of an enthusiast. And I've got your backs, and I'm there, and I'm representing virtually everybody that's in this room. And I take that responsibility very seriously. Nobody's telling me to do that. It's just the way that when I jumped into this thing back in 2008, that was the strategy that I decided to go with. And knock on wood, fortunately, it's paid off. A final comment on that is, in case anybody's wondering, the other announcers that I work with, by the way, everybody, we've been working together for 15 years, with the exception of Katie Osborne. She's been now with us for 6 years. We've been working together all this time. We're all friends. We get along. We've never had a crossword, either on air or off air, although sometimes Stephen Cox and Bill Stevens, for regular viewers, get into a little bit of a teasing session, but that's all for fun. I think most of you picked that up, that it's not, it's not a sincere competition between those guys. But what I do is I make sure that if they start to move off in a direction that may not be either accurate or relevant, I get everybody reeled kind of back in. We like each other, we respect each other, and they allow me to be able to do that. And I think that's part of the success of our show is we try to keep it real, and that is going to continue. All right, let's talk about the auction a little bit.